Alright. Let's do it. Good to see you guys. I got the Verizon hoodie on today. Oh my god, man. I can't believe people really think I work for Verizon. They must be out of their minds. These people are crazy. You wear a red hoodie. This is the hoodie that I keep here by my desk. So, you know, there's times when this area of the house, this room is pretty chilly and cold. So I keep the Verizon hoodie with me. it's Adidas, bro. I work for Verizon. Oh my god, man. I know, Sean. It is crazy. They won't give me any heat down here, man. Seriously. Sneed Red Riding Hood. Nice, man. What's up, William? Yeah, it's cold down here. I mean, it's like I could rock the t-shirt and be fine, but I like being comfortable. Things are already starting to cool down over here in the CLE. So it's generally staying pretty warm during the day, but it's really starting to cool down at night. So at night it drops like 30 degrees. Like it's going from like 70, 75 down to like 45 degrees, 40 at night. So I don't know if I really need a space heater. I'm not really that cold. I think it's more I don't want to get cold. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that the chilly chills, you know? Man, it's been a long week. Work. I know if I'm feeling it at work, I know you guys are definitely feeling it at work. So, yeah, no. Yep. Adrian, good to see you. Glad you could stop by. Yeah, buddy. Let's get this show going here, huh? The older I get, the less cool I need it to look. Oh, man, that's funny. All right, looky here. Back in the Yeti. That's right. Carlos said the Pixel 4a is a hot potato already. Multitask no good. Slow, but it's a good phone for making calls. Going basics, I won't deny it, but for things we do, it's not great. Yeah, it definitely is a mid-ranger, for sure. No argument for me, brother. Alright, stories for today, what we're going to cover in the show. We got some Google Fi news. We're going to talk Apple's iPhone 12. Some news coming out there. What we think is considered to be pretty accurate information. It's being corroborated by multiple sources who have been reliable in the past. So it's about as credible of leaks that you're going to get. There's some T Mobile and AT&T stuff going on. I like to kind of wrap things up there. So we got a good show. And I will be kind of recording the audio-only podcast at the same time. So, you know, I'll be recording that. If you guys like the podcast but don't need the video piece, you're more than welcome to listen in on the audio-only podcast or on all the major podcast platforms. So wherever you're catching them, we're pitching them. All right, so we're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, we're on Apple, we're on Google, all of them. Check them out. They're in the link in the description box. Actually, there's tons of links. I got a whole gang of them. There's like 10 of them. So check it out. Also, the Twitter handle's down there. We also have the Patreon page. If you like what the SMT YouTube channel has to offer, you're looking for more, check out the SMT Patreon page. All it takes is $1 donation. You get exclusive access. You know, there's different tiers for different types of access. Early access to videos, exclusive content. You know, the usual. So, let's go ahead and get started with story number 1 in tonight's podcast. I want to start with Google Fi news. This is interesting, kind of random. I never thought in a million years Google would be selling service, right? So when that happened, it was like mind-blowing. At the time, they were calling it Project Fi, maybe because it was kind of like in beta or something like that. And then they have since moved it to like a different nomenclature. They're calling it Google Fi. No big deal. It makes sense. The brand is Google. You know, calling it Project Fi, it made it sound like if it was going to work, then yeah, cool, you know, it was going to be lucky. But, so they switched it and gave it a proper name like Google Fi. So I never thought Google was going to get into selling wireless service, and then they came in as an MVNO, and I guess it was kind of working. The business model was, you know, you pay for what you use. Good for some people who don't want to pay for stuff they don't use. So, it worked for a lot of people, and the service has grown. More and more people are using it. It kind of was pretty cool to have the access of different networks. You get yourself access on the T Mobile network. If that works well for you, that would be awesome. It also gave you access to Sprint's tower sites and access to their network. But then when the T Mobile and Sprint merger happened, it kind of like canceled itself out, sort of. Right? It didn't have the same uniqueness to it. But you still, as long as you're roaming on all parts of the network, you're cool, right? And then consumer cellular, throw that in there. It's a nice little thing they got going on. Plus, you're always connected to these hotspots, these Wi-Fi hotspots around the country. So it was a unique way of getting access, and it's pretty cool. Now, from the hardware side, what Google has done is they've taken their Google Pixel line and they've taken their Nexus products, and they were selling those products on the website for Google Feye, and then pushing their service, with these devices. To take this one step further, because up to this point it's all been Google phones and Pixels and Nexus devices, now they're starting to sell Samsung devices. And these are basically what I believe to be because they're pushing their 5G service and branding. So Google Feye is now offering and showing a 5G coverage map. And they're selling these Samsung phones. So you're selling 5G devices, you're selling a 5G coverage service. Kind of makes sense. You go hand in hand. Google Feye wants to offer a full portfolio of 5G devices. I can't blame them for that. If they don't do that, then the thinking by some customers is that Google Feye is behind all the other carriers, so they can't take them seriously or legitimately as a competitor. So to go with the 5G network access, you've got to have more 5G phones. As of right now, what do you have? You have the up-and-coming Pixel 5 and Pixel 4a 5G. But outside of that, you don't have a 5G phone. So to expand on that portfolio of 5G phone access, they're now going to start carrying the Samsung Galaxy devices, which they have, they have about a half dozen phones or more models of 5G devices. That was fast, right? So when I look at the 5G phones that they sell, you've got the Pixel 5 up and coming, the 4a 5G also up and coming. Oh, Tony Phony Baloney with the $50 super chat. Hey, man, thank you, bro. Wow, you didn't have to really donate, man. That is a very nice donation. I appreciate you. Man, it's really nice of you, man. He says, hey, let's get this party started the way it should be. Thank God for weekends. Thank God for bros who try to enlighten us like our boy Sneed. Thanks, man. Those are really kind words. Those are words of encouragement, man. They keep me going. I feel like I'm doing a good service to the community, offering a podcast, that's fun and laid back and informational, and informative, and, what I do at the channel and all that. I try to keep it light. I try to keep it informative and positive community, all these good things. That's how I try to do it, and I try to keep the trolling off, and I try to keep the negative off, so big shout out to Tony. Thanks for the super chat, man. You definitely didn't have to do it, not in these times, bro, but appreciate it very much. Wow. So to kind of like finish up this Google story here, if you add the Samsung devices to what the Pixel devices for this year are going to offer for 5G, so let's kind of go through these Galaxy phones. Google's going to sell the Note 20, the Note 20 Ultra, the S20, the S20 Plus, the S20 Ultra, and the A71 5G. No word on whether or not they're going to sell any of the older Samsung 5G phones like the S10 Plus 5G or the Note 10 Plus 5G. I didn't see any of that or hear about any of that. But that's pretty smart to offer more than one type of phone other than your own, because you're selling service. You might as well carry the other stuff. It seems weird, like you wouldn't expect them to pull this move, but honestly, I think it totally makes sense. They're also running a promotion where you can save up to $300 on any of those phones. I don't know what the requirements are. I'm not sure. I'll have to check into it, but it's a way to save some money. So now in terms of the 5G network map that they're showing, it's basically wherever T-Mobile has their 600 megahertz, their N71, which in my humble opinion, and you may think it differently, it's lame sauce. It's not fast. It's nothing special. Yeah, coverage and it's low band, and that's great. But the channels are so skinny, the bandwidth is so limited, it's not really going to change anyone's perception on network technology. If somebody was to do a speed test connected to N71, they'd say that's the same as my LTE or slower because the channels are limited. You know, you're going to connect to one LTE channel and one NR channel, and each of those channels might be 10 or 15 megahertz. If you were to connect to all 3 LTE channels, you might get 40 or 50 megahertz. Who knows, right? It just depends on the configuration on that tower. So, again, as of right now, the only thing that T-Mobile really has 5G-wise that's substantially built out is 600 megahertz. And that's just not, it's nothing to really write home about. So when they do get the 2.5 gigahertz going, when they build out the N41, that has huge potential. Those channels can be enormous. And enormous, I mean like 40, 60, 80, 100 megahertz channels potentially by next year. That sounds awesome. There's not much of it out yet. There's not much of it built out. So for the time being, if you're connected to 5G on Google Feye or T-Mobile for that matter, it's probably 600 megahertz, and it's probably not fast. So it doesn't offer too much capacity. A good 5G network from T-Mobile is just not available yet. It's just not there. You'll be deprioritized as an MVNO on Google Feye. So check the coverage, check the availability of the network in your area. Make sure it's not congested. If it's congested on T-Mobile, it's going to be absolutely at a standstill crawl when it comes to MVNO access with Google Feye. So that's something to consider. So that's the first story. I think it's smart, like I said, of the Samsung devices going to Google Feye, them covering all their bases, offering about 6 or so devices that are 5G compatible along with their own. Very smart, in my opinion. Big shout out to Tony Phony Baloney with another $2 super chat. He said he's no Mike Deceiver. I love that, Tony. That's hilarious, man. Very original, Mike Deceiver. I like what you did there with that wordplay, man. Nice. Oscar, appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for that. Hit me with the thumbs up pair. Right there, buddy. Thank you, man. Appreciate the super chat, y'all. Appreciate that very much. You know what, Tito? That would be cool. I would like to see the Google Feye service expand out to another carrier. If it was Verizon, I think that's tremendous. If it's AT&T, I think that's good too. Just adding another carrier would be awesome. The problem is the cost. The operation increases, to exponentially. I think just the operation, it becomes very hard to operate with that overhead, But I would actually prefer that they switch. I would say move away from the T-Mobile service and move towards either AT&T or Verizon. If you had to switch, that would be fine. I just think AT&T's network is bigger. I also think it's more capacitive for now. That could change a year from now, 2 years from now. I don't know, right? But I can't speculate on it. I have to kind of call it the way it is now. So I think AT&T does offer a better LTE network. They also, rumor has it that AT&T has more low-band 5G deployed than T-Mobile. So if that's the case, then again, they get outdueled in that way. So, but yeah, totally agree. A Verizon access would be cool too. Very interesting if that was to happen. All right. Let's go to story number 2. This one coming out of the Apple iPhone 12 rumor mill. Man, the rumors with the iPhone never end. We're getting so close, though. The launch is really, really close. We have an October 13th official launch date. There's going to be an event that's held virtually. The expectation is that we are going to get 4 new iPhones on that date. The virtual event has been scheduled. Invites are going out. People are getting them. I've seen them shared on Twitter. I've seen people posting screenshots of them. And as of right now, of the 4 iPhone 12 models that are projected, currently the rumors are that all 4 of them are going to be 5G. And because they're all going to be 5G enabled, the question then becomes, are all of them going to have the same 5G access? That's kind of important, because there are some people who not only want access to sub-6 gigahertz 5G, the low and the mid-band, but there are people like myself who live in a 5G ultra-wideband market, millimeter wave. Here in the CLE, millimeter wave is offered by all three major carriers. T Mobile has it here, although it's extremely limited. Verizon has it here, and it's the most extensive build-out of all three carriers. AT&T has it here too, but it's strategically placed in areas where people spend a lot of time outside, and the capacity can be supported for that reason. So in the CLE, it makes total sense to have what's being referred to as a tri-band phone. That's kind of slang. It's dual band. It's sub-6 gigahertz, which is low and mid-band, and then there's millimeter wave. That's really what it is. And millimeter wave is a microwave frequency. Very high frequency, doesn't propagate well. We know the limitations, but it's super capacitive, huge ultra-wide channels. The bandwidth is tremendous. The speeds are great. Anybody who lives in a 5G market where they have millimeter wave probably wants it and wants the phone to have that capability. So what we're expecting from the Apple iPhone 12 is there's going to be some form of a staggered launch. I would say that it's probably a situation where it's the supply of the chipset's modem that's integrated into the chipset. I should clarify that. So, you know, if the Pro models do indeed come out later, the anticipation is that that might be because of the Qualcomm X60 modem. If that's the case, that is the phone to get, because Qualcomm is probably much further ahead in modem technology at this point than, say, Intel or the in-house Apple situation that they got going on there. So like I said, the iPhone 12, the 12 mini, or the 12 Max, whatever naming nomenclature they have, and then like the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, they're going to be different in some capabilities. So the Pro model is going to earn that name. What's up, Mr. Uncle Breadman? What is going on, Joe? How are you, man? My brother JR is in the house. So it looks like the way that this is going to work is, in looking at the way these staggered launches are, the first two phones, the 12 mini or the 12 regular and then the 12 Max or whatever they name, the two regular 12 models, those are going to be ready for purchase and, you know, delivery and launch. They'll be ready in October, so those are coming soon, just in a couple of weeks. The Pro models are anticipated for a November launch and a November release. So what exactly is keeping them from being ready is probably the modem. The fact that the modem may be different, may be better. So that being said, the 5G performance, the chip performance because of the modem performance might be different. So there's going to be a 5.4 inch, which is being referred to as the mini. To me, it's not really mini. That's just like a regular sized phone. There's going to be a 6.1 inch as well, which kind of has become the regular sized phone, actually. Then there's going to be a Pro, which is also a 6.1 inch, and then a Pro Max, 6.7 inch. So we're expecting a lot of different things from these phones. I think there's going to be obviously a boost in the specifications to garner an upgrade for people to buy it. So I think, one example of how this phone might be upgraded relative to previous generations, I think there's going to be a processor upgrade. Obviously, it'll be more powerful, it'll be stronger, faster, do more, make it look easy. I think the camera will obviously perform better. Maybe it's an incremental update. Maybe it'll be, much better. Who knows? We'll see. I also think there's going to be an upgrade to the storage. I think the entry-level storage is going to be boosted. I think Apple's going to set the precedent. So, some people are saying it's going to be 128 gigs as the base model. That's cool. I'm good with that. Most people could probably ride that out for a couple of years. But video files are getting larger. We're using higher resolution video capture. So when you start doing that and you start recording in 4K, that storage fills up really, really quick. So amongst other things like photography and whatever else files, people are creators. They use their devices for that purpose. That might not be enough. So rumor has it that the next storage option might be 512 gigs, which is a half a terabyte, which is incredible, right? Like, you don't have expandable storage with the iPhone, never had. So the expectation is that for those people, you know, go with the higher storage option. And then the second situation there is, what if somebody wants more than the 512? Is 2 options really enough? So what if they come in and they offer a terabyte version? That would be absolutely incredible. I think people will buy a terabyte storage option from Apple. I really do. Pricing, obviously, it's going to become, you know, a very premium feature. To go from 128 gigs of storage to 512 is quite a leap. But then to go from 512 and double it up to a full terabyte, that's incredible. You know, terabyte level storage, I mean, you'd never fill that up. Most normal people, most humans probably wouldn't fill that up unless you had like 4K production video like all the time and you were just constantly recording in that crazy resolution for most of your content. And maybe like you do duplicates and stuff like that, you might fill it up after a year or 2 or something. I don't know. Or maybe you're just not into cloud storage whatsoever. Maybe that becomes an option. Now, you know, pricing, I'll kind of get to that in a second, but you know, we've seen new over-the-ear headphones, we've seen new AirPods, AirTags, you know, those are a possibility. They already did the iPads. We already saw the new watches. There's new services, stuff like that. So we'll see what else is coming down here. But in my prediction, in my estimation, I think we're going to see a big selling year, fiscal year for the iPhone. So starting here in October with sales of the 12 and the 12 mini or whatever it's called, and then also throw in the Pro and the Pro Max, I think that iPhone 12s, this generation of iPhones, 2020, 2021, are going to be huge selling phones. It just feels like people are ready for a new iPhone. And if they can give people enough reason to upgrade, they will. So I don't know. I think 150 million units is a slam dunk. I think that's like easy. You know, I really do. I think it's going to be easy for them to sell 150 million. I would not be surprised if Apple exceeded 200 million in sales from all the iPhone 12s. I really wouldn't. Now, when it comes to 5G types, initially we thought that all were going to have the sub 6 gigahertz and that was pretty much it. If the modem was going to be ready for the Pro Max, it was going to see the millimeter wave access. But now people are indicating, and it actually makes sense, people are indicating that all will be millimeter wave access. We thought initially it was just going to be the Pro Max because it was likely going to be the only one that had the X60 modem. But it is possible that all of them could have millimeter wave access, even if they don't all have the X60 modem. It's possible, and it might be crazy to think, but hey, maybe Apple figured it out. Maybe the Intel ARM had something going on and they got everything in there. Now, the big thing there is the cost. The antenna module, the antenna arrangement for millimeter wave is expensive and it's complicated. And that may be why we got a little bit of a delay in the release. Who knows? You know, they're not going to tell us. Other key items, you know, price point wise, availability. You know, you got this weird carrier availability thing that could potentially happen. I hope not. Done with this nonsense. The iPhone 12, like the regular one, we're expecting $699. That would be fine. I think that's fair. That's what the last generation is and was. The iPhone 11 will probably drop $100, so that becomes a value at $599. The larger version of the iPhone 12, maybe that comes in at $799 or something like that. I think that's fair. You know, if it's got a larger battery, a better or a larger display, you know, who knows? Maybe that's something that floats your boat. The iPhone 12 Pro, maybe that one comes in at like $999. That's what it was last year for the Pro. And then the Pro Max version of the iPhone 12, maybe that one comes in at $1099. I personally don't think so. I actually think $1199 is more realistic, especially if it's going to leverage millimeter wave. I reported on this, apparently Apple has been actively trying to reduce production costs on the iPhones. So they took a couple cost-cutting measures on building and assembling the phone the battery technology, the battery board, some connections. They found a way to make it a little bit cheaper to produce. And if they took out the accessories and got rid of the charging cable, or excuse me, the charging brick, however they decide to do this, they might be able to save enough money and cut enough costs to where they can actually still continue to profit and not have to take shortcuts on the modems. Because cellular connectivity and cellular performance, Apple's going to want to compete with the other, manufacturers. I mean, Samsung's doing all things 5G right now. Their flagships have access to all forms of it: low band, mid band, and millimeter wave. The S20 line, the Note line, even like the A71 phone, which is a mid-ranger, they've got 5G access, so they're going to have to bring it here. We'll see what happens with the storage. We'll see what happens with the pricing. We'll see what happens with the millimeter wave access and all that 5G stuff. I'll be reporting on it. I'll definitely do some coverage. But I'm definitely going to be getting a iPhone. I'm going to get at least one. And I'm going to try to get the best one, whichever one that is. It's probably going to be the Pro Max. It's going to give me the biggest battery. It'll give me the biggest display. Probably the nicest, the highest resolution. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be expensive. It's going to break over that $1,000 barrier. That ain't coming down anytime soon. But just something to put on your radar, and we'll follow up on that at a later time. We're expecting something of an announcement next week, early in the week. Interesting news out of the iPhone today, talking about that millimeter wave coming to all models. That would be tremendous. I would love to see that. I just don't want to see phones getting neutered unnecessarily, KJ, what's going on? No, 15 watts is cool, bro. I'm good with that. I mean, I prefer more. More is better. As long as it's an efficient transfer speed, I'm good with that. All right. What do you say we move to some T Mobile news? And some AT&T news, actually. We'll cover both. Tito says it's definitely going to have other companies make that the norm. Yeah, if Apple starts doing something, that trend will pick up for sure. Alright, let's do this T Mobile thing, shall we? Story number 3. This one coming out of T Mobile, actually. A couple items from T Mobile. Alright, probably the most interesting carrier. They are the loudest, the most flamboyant. Doggy. They're the most public with their information. They do a lot of talking, put a lot of targets on their backs. So T Mobile has apparently resorted to soccer balls and toy cars for their 5G demos. Yeah. Interesting way to portray their network idea. How about a map? I swear all customers probably really want is a map. We want to know where the 5G network really is, where it exists. But companies don't really seem to be doing it too much, and they're really not doing a good job either. Most of the carriers, for the most part, they exaggerate. Their map is not accurate. They say it's got coverage in a certain place, and it doesn't. They exaggerate the coverage. They embellish the truth. They stray from the truth. Every carrier does it. Nobody's safe from the carriers. So what T-Mobile was doing is they were trying to explain in some kind of weird analogy to journalists, people that are writers in the media. They're trying to explain their 5G network compared to others. They're trying to distinguish it through these analogies. And this is an interesting way to do it. Soccer balls and toy cars. So, I think most of us probably want to know more about updates on execution of deployment, 2.5 gigahertz, but we didn't get that. We got, toy cars and soccer balls. So what T-Mobile did was they held a Zoom meeting that was trying to explain their 5G network plan and deployment to journalists and media members. They must, T-Mobile must think of these journalists some kind of way, like, all these people are idiots. All they know are soccer balls and toy cars or something. I don't know. I don't know whose idea that was. I really don't. The soccer ball was supposed to illustrate latency improvement between 4G LTE and 5G. So the way they explain this is that, 4G LTE typically has speeds between like 10 and 30 milliseconds. And then with 5G, it's like 1.5 milliseconds. So they're trying to show by like how fast the ball moved or whatever. They also showed and displayed a 28 gigahertz millimeter wave connection, achieving 1.5 gigabits per second on a laptop. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually, all that's truthful. Like, that's all accurate. That testing, that's how those types of connections perform. That's how those frequencies behave. What they then did was they took a sign and they put the sign in the way of the millimeter wave signal to block it and show how it loses connection. So they showed how fast it is, but they showed how it's limited because it doesn't propagate well. No problem. That's very typical of the millimeter wave connection. What they're trying to do is they're trying to highlight millimeter wave limitations so that way they could take a shot at Verizon, because Verizon is leveraging its millimeter wave technology as its 5G ultra wideband. It's 5G built right. So what T-Mobile is trying to do is they're trying to poo-poo what Verizon is doing as their main mode of 5G. And they used the toy cars analogy to show like autonomous vehicles as 5G application, like a use case. I think they also like mentioned and showed like drones, stuff like that. So they were trying to show that connection. I think somebody had asked them about a follow-up to the HTC 5G hub from that Sprint offered. They didn't have an answer for that. There's no replacement for that device. When they were asked about the deployment, T-Mobile continues to stick to the generic term and phrase thousands of sites by year end. So we're not really getting, quantitative terminology from T-Mobile. They're not giving us a precise number. I think that's because they don't know. Like, they don't really have a set number. So asking them is unrealistic because they don't really have that. Like, I don't even think at if somebody was to get Neville, on a off the record, say, how many sites are getting upgraded this year, I don't think he knows, because I think there's licensing. I think there's, site acquisitions and there's different types of permits that you need. There's so many different variables. It's kind of unrealistic to really, get that information. It's just not easy to do. So absent from the presentation, they did not mention 600 megahertz. They did not really talk about it. So they weren't really bragging about their national 5G. It looks like that's kind of taken a back seat to the 2.5 gigahertz mid-band focus. So it was basically just an analogy, like a 5G message. So, but it doesn't address their issue, right? Like, the actual network issues that T-Mobile faces are twofold. It's tower density and it's tower site upgrades. Those are things that they really have to address. So they've got to build more tower sites. They have to upgrade their current tower sites in order to improve their network performance. So no matter what analogies they use, whether it's a soccer ball or it's, toy cars or drones or whatever, their focus in what they do, it doesn't matter what they say, it's going to have to be to continue to build out the network. So that's more tower sites and more upgrades to existing tower sites. More sites need 600 megahertz for coverage. More sites need 2.5 gigahertz for the capacity. If they're going to effectively compete with the likes of Verizon and AT&T, if they're going to close the network gap, that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to build new sites. They're going to have to get up on new sites where Verizon and AT&T are. They're going to have to figure out what the plan is with the decommission of the Sprint sites they don't want. Get those decommissioned, get those sold off if they're going to Dish or whomever else or whatever they are going to do. All that stuff. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. That was like a story that made it to the news cycle. The big story actually from yesterday, right? This one is pretty big. T-Mobile added hundreds of new fixed home broadband markets So these are wireless markets. This is LTE-based fixed wireless service from T Mobile. It's not like super fast, right? The T Mobile home internet is not designed to replace somebody's service that's like connected to fiber optic. It's not that. In fact, it's really not even faster than coax in most cases. It's probably faster than copper, but that's about it. Speeds eventually from T-Mobile are set to reach 100 megabits in the near future. I think in some cases 300 megabits, like in the example of, the CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, and what they lobbied for in the T-Mobile and Sprint merger concessions. So, I think this does help bring a modest service to rural America, underserved customers across the country. I really do like this. Verizon is now in this market as well. They announced 189 zip codes / markets with the same type of service through LTE. The big story here, though, with this particular announcement is that T-Mobile has this targeted marketing. What they're doing is they're going to leverage this announcement with a plot twist. T-Mobile is directly taking shots at AT&T because what AT&T just announced. They said that they will no longer sell their ultra-slow version of their DSL copper services in select markets. So what they're doing is they're going to continue to serve the customers that have the service, but they're not going to add new customers. So they're not going to advertise it, they're not going to push it, and they're not going to let new people sign up for it. So the way that T-Mobile is branding this whole thing and the way they're targeting, this twist is they're basically saying AT&T is abandoning these people, this segment of customer, at the worst time possible during a pandemic. And, we're going to serve them. We're going to help them out. It's so smart of them to do this. Like, the optics look great if you're T-Mobile, and this looks terrible if you're AT&T. Now, what AT&T is doing is AT&T is cutting losses. They're not, it's too costly to operate this segment of their network and their offerings for internet, according to sources, right? So maybe they can charge more for fiber optic, and that's why they want to deploy that instead. But something tells me that these places will not be getting fiber anytime soon. That just doesn't seem like AT&T to me. I would be surprised if they did. It would be cool to see. We'll see what happens. We'll be watching for that. I'll report back if that doesn't indeed happen. The T-Mobile expansion now supports up to 20 million customers in 450 markets or cities. AT&T is looking to move on to fiber installations and fiber focus and services. T-Mobile was asked about details for the expansion, and they actually refused to speak on it. They refused to answer any questions on this topic. That's concerning, and here's what I mean. When they were asked about that, could you explain how much of the markets were going to get the service? Could you give us more information about the capacity, how you plan on executing this, and dealing with network congestion and so on? T-Mobile said, quote, "We are not providing any more info to our inventory or capacity." I really wish they didn't say that, and I really wish this wasn't the case, because what this does is this could mean that it's all smoke, and it's all to capitalize on marketing, which would be the worst case scenario. I do hope that this service does get out to a lot of people that need it, especially people that have like satellite internet options as their only option, or have like some crappy regional provider that has horrible infrastructure and really bad speeds and horrible reliability, like me with Cox Cable, which is absolute trash. Horrible performer. They are by far the worst internet provider. I cannot recommend them to anybody. That's kind of what I'm saying is, if T-Mobile can offer a decent product that is at least reliable, people can take advantage of it, and it's awesome. I love it. But they didn't want to talk about it, any details or anything. So you're definitely going to have to call in and ask. You may not actually be served. This is the same thing we're seeing with Verizon with their home internet situation with LTE fixed wireless. If you check the Verizon website for access, your zip code will be included, but you at your address are not served. I have no idea why this is happening. I don't know why they just included these markets as being covered, but they're not able to serve the entire market according to these zip codes. So Verizon and T Mobile appear to be making the SMT frustrated, and I'm growing more and more frustrated by the day as people message me, DM me on Twitter, send me emails saying, hey Sneed, they say that the zip code is covered, but it's not covered at my home address. That's becoming a common theme, and it's very annoying to witness happen. So don't get your hopes up. If it works out for you, great. Just, don't get your hopes up and then, set yourself up to be disappointed. It looks like these carriers are simply being carriers and exaggerating for the sake of marketing. So although I commend Verizon and T Mobile for expanding their home wireless, their fixed wireless for LTE home internet, I just don't know how expanded they actually really are. I don't know. So call in, check your address, see if it actually works. If it works, great, but don't get your hopes up too much. You might be disappointed. And to kind of wrap things up, I think, and this will kind of be the last piece, is AT&T is closing stores. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. We saw this coming. AT&T gave us the heads up months ago. And I'm not talking April, May or June. I'm talking January. We knew after the Q4 2019 numbers came out, we knew what AT&T was going to be doing. AT&T was going to be laying off thousands and thousands of employees. I'm talking tens of thousands. Some have been speculating it might reach 100,000 employees laid off and fired and terminated with no particular, ramification of anything to answer to, right? They were just going to be letting people go, it looks like they're closing about 320 stores. So, if that's the case, that is extensive. It's really not pandemic related, honestly. They're going to say it is, and it might kind of sort of partly be, but honestly, it's debt related. If we're going to be truthful about this, it's 100% debt related. So maybe it's exaggerated by the pandemic, but the real issue here is that AT&T is in huge debt. I'm not exaggerating when I say huge debt. It's massive. So it's debt related. It's Randall Stevenson related, the former CEO of AT&T. It's DirecTV related. And it's Time Warner related. Those acquisitions have been an absolute monstrosity for their debt. 160 billion reasons why this is happening. Probably going to see about 1,600 workers laid off or terminated. There's been a huge shift to online shopping and online sales, delivery services, shipping, customer service and care is remote. It's, like I said, it's a combination mostly of the debt, but then probably accelerated and exaggerated by the pandemic. But this was trending prior. These money-related issues at AT&T is not because of the pandemic. It's truly because of AT&T's spending. Them thinking DirecTV was a win and them thinking Time Warner was a win. It's not the case. Elliott Management, a big investor on the AT&T side, has really forced the issue. They were the ones that wanted Randall Stevenson gone. They are the ones that are really pushing to reduce this debt load. They're forcing the issue. AT&T has already moved to contracted work internationally over the course of the last several years. Those people can be cut, no problems, no questions asked. We're probably going to see a huge, downtick in employment at AT&T. Now, what does this mean? Is this going to change the outlook at AT&T? It's going to reduce their overhead. It's going to reduce their debt load. They're going to continue to try to shave some of that debt. They do want to sell most of what they do in the ownership portion of DirecTV. They want to see Time Warner pay off, so they're going to hold on to that. I think they just got to figure it out, So we'll see what happens. I'm tracking the stories of the DirecTV sale. I'm tracking to see what happens there with the shares. I'm tracking the debt load. We want to continue to see AT&T thrive in wireless, offer a superior product, make T-Mobile and Verizon compete. We want to see that network spending continue to stay up there. We want to see the FirstNet deal continue to be a big piece of what they do in the network moving forward. So we're tracking all of it. And that concludes the audio-only version of the podcast. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next show. And then for the YouTube side, yeah, buddy, we got a little bit of bonus coverage for you guys as we kind of wrap up the show here. For the bonus coverage, I just wanted to let you all know that mid-band 5G is confirmed coming to AT&T. How do I know? I got an update today on my Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. It is an AT&T variant, so it has the AT&T firmware on it. And in the service mode, where I can see all the bands and all the access, I saw N2. For those of you that don't know, N2 is the PCS 1900 megahertz. That is LTE. That is going to be DSS'd as 5G. We know that AT&T is going to do this. It is confirmed. Verizon as well. They will be DSSing, if that's a term, band 2 for 5G. So I'm going to track it. I don't have access to it. It's not turned on yet, the DSS in the CLE market, but I will be checking it out and I will be testing it as soon as it becomes live. I think we're on to something here. It might be going live national, possibly with the iPhone. That was the expectation of what we thought Verizon was going to do at the time of the launch as well. So we'll see. Honestly, I don't know how much it's going to help people. I really don't. I don't know how much DSS is going to help people because there's no new spectrum coming to the table. It's going to be, pre-existing spectrum that is going to be shared between LTE and 5G. So maybe the the N operations makes it a little bit more efficient, and it makes, the coverage a little bit better, the range, the performance, the speed. But also keep in mind, whenever you DSS spectrum, you lose some efficiency, right? I don't know what the estimated percentage of loss and efficiency is, like 5 to 10%. I don't know. I guess it depends how far along the technology is. We're in the dark on it. We don't really know. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm tracking it. I got the update to my phone. It's on my phone. In fact, I left my phone upstairs. I was going to show you guys. I'll probably do a video on it. N2 is the only one that's on there. N5 has been on there. And then the N260 is there as well, the 39 gigahertz millimeter wave. So now it's showing 3 NR bands. I know band 66 is coming also. And I also think band 30 is coming as well. So if you're an AT&T user, if you're an AT&T fan, and you're tracking their mid-band for 5G, that's coming if it hasn't showed up already. Some people are reporting that it's live in their market. It's just not live here. You also got to keep in mind, there's different vendors in different markets. Like in the CLE, they use Nokia for their hardware and their software. Well, in other markets, they might be using Ericsson. And maybe Ericsson is further along in the DSS technology compared to Nokia. So if that's the case, if you're in a Nokia market, you are behind. And if you're in an Ericsson market, you've already had it. You've already had access. I can confirm from sources within AT&T that that's the case. Again, I will look for that access. I'll be watching it. But the fact that I got the update for the N2 access tells me that it's imminent, and it tells me that it's close. So if indeed, if it is so imminent that it's like just days away, is my expectation is that like Monday, it might be turned on. Like I might have access to N2. And Band 2 is everywhere. Band 2 is a national spectrum holding for AT&T. So if you could imagine AT&T going national with N2 and also N5. Now we're talking. But here's the thing. This is non-standalone. We don't know if the standalone services are on yet, right? So if it does go standalone, now we have a different story. Can we see interoperability, carrier aggregation with 2 or more 5G bands? Because we just saw an announcement from T Mobile that they're going to do it with band 71 and band 41, or N41 and N71, 600 megahertz, 2.5 gigahertz. They're doing that with the LG Velvet. We need chipsets that are going to be able to do this, you know, on other bands, right? So, but it's got to be Qualcomm because that's what people have. I'm not buying a Dimensity-based chip. I'm not buying... Friends don't let friends MediaTek, right? I mean, it sucks that Qualcomm has a monopoly here in North America, but truth be told, those chips are better than anything MediaTek has right now. Sorry, right? Sorry, not sorry. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, Caleb, is when are we going to get that, you know? We need standalone services. We want to see this with the X60 modem. You know, I can't wait. And that's why I was hoping, you know, maybe this iPhone does something for the carrier aggregation of the NR. You know, that's kind of what I was hoping for. So it's like wishful thinking. I'm just kind of like thinking aloud. When do we see these things? I can't wait for it. You know, does Verizon make the DSS live? Do we get standalone services? You know, the rumor and speculation is that we were going to have it this year. Oh, okay. Coming second half of next year, carrier aggregation over NR. So we're still going to have skinny channels, and we're still going to have single channels of NR. Disappointing. Now, okay, what I would ask you, you know, Mr. Cool RF, is are all carriers going to be the same in their restrictions? Are they restricted based on the handsets? Are they restricted based on the devices? Or are we talking restrictions on the network side? Because if it's the network side, then it's going to vary from carrier to carrier. But if it's the hardware side, all we need are some newer hardware devices, and maybe they could do it. All right, so that's kind of what I would want to know. Louise says, crazy, I ran a speed test on Cricket once and got 220 megabits per second on LTE. That is crazy. That is nuts. Yeah, I didn't even know that you could do that on Cricket. I thought Cricket was throttled a little bit more. But I'm not surprised, because AT&T does have a truly capacitive network. It's very, very high capacity. So yeah, no surprises, I guess. Oh yeah, Tito. Hashtag Sneed takes M. Sievert to Yard House. Yeah, buddy. Restrictions on bandwidth and frequency allocation and power parity. Got you. Makes sense. All right, we'll see what happens next gen technologies. We shall see. What's up, Texo? Good to see you, man. Texo in the house. Dan, you ain't lying. DSS is indeed for the 5G icon. Because the efficiency loss is being compensated by the move to NR, but, you know, it's not. That's the thing, man. DSS will make 5G national, but it won't make it a game-changing experience. It simply will not. We are going to need more spectrum. We're going to need wider channels. We're going to need more channels. Yeah, totally agree. DSS does not suck. It doesn't suck, not by a long shot. It is a necessary evil. It's the only way you're going to get national 5G for now. Right? When the decommission and the refarming process happens, that's going to kind of bridge the gap. So it has to happen. The fact that T-Mobile's not doing it is showing their wealth of riches, but they got to build out their network, so it's really not so different. It's really just all the carriers have the same end game. It's just how they go about doing it seems to be different. But the end game is the same. They're all going to do millimeter wave, right? They're all going to be doing tons of mid-band deployment and building tower sites and improving network access. They're all doing the same thing. They're just in different sequences based on what they own, based on the spectrum assets they have, based on the network sites that they are currently deploying from. All right, so absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on here for an hour. So let's go ahead and finish this up here. I want to give some special shout-outs. I want to give a big special shout-out to Tony Phony Baloney for his super chat. Appreciate you, brother. There were some other super chats I did see. I know Oscar had a super chat earlier. So thank you for that, the Dancing Pair. There were a couple earlier too. I think he had another one, a couple other people. I don't know, it's not letting me go back far enough, but thank you for donating. Appreciate you all supporting the channel with monetary donations. You definitely don't have to, but we do thank you for those donations. So appreciate you very much. I want to thank everyone for being here and taking this opportunity to watch. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here watching the SMT and listening to the podcast. So I thank you very much for that. And, you know, do me a solid. If you want to help the channel, really all you got to do is hit the like button and share this to your social media platforms. So if you got Twitter, if you have Facebook, if you got the Gram, you know, share it for me. That would be tremendous. Give it a like and give it a share. Jose, hashtag help the bear. Thank you for the super chat, my brother, mi hermano. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hashtag 2Live Crew for those of you watching this in the live during the live broadcast. Hashtag Replay Crew for those watching on DVR. Hashtag Ravioli Gang if you're watching this while eating or you are hungry. And hashtag Mod Squad for all with the blue names and the large blue wrenches holding it down, bouncing out the trolls and getting the haters up on out of here. Appreciate you all. Thank you for holding it down for me. If you are new, you've been lurking, or this is your first time here, join the SMT Nation. Click that subscribe button. Activate the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. If you have been watching and you have been a part of the community, you want to take it one step further, consider joining the Patreon page. Become a member. All right, get extra access, get exclusive access to content found nowhere else in the world. SMT exclusive content on the SMT Patreon page. Check it out. Link in the description box. Also, we got the Twitter handle in the box. All of the podcast platforms are there as well. Check out everything that is there. And that's it. Thank you all for taking this opportunity to tune in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope that we see you soon on the next show. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. Everyone out there, take it easy. And I hope to see you soon. Peace. Yeah.